Senator Morlock, I think why don't we go ahead and should we just take them in order?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so we'll start off with item number 1, SB 1031. Senator Morlock.
Sure, I'll sit by.
Hey, it looks better. How you doing? Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, recently I attended a dinner at the that was hosted by the governor at the mansion and had the privilege of even sitting next to Ann Gust. It was a lovely evening. After President Pro Tem Atkins and Republican Leader Bates shared a few thoughts, the governor turned to us and said, why don't y'all give a little talk? And then he got up and talked himself for a little bit, and he was concerned about two bombs on the horizon, the pension bomb and the climate change bomb, and we had quite an interesting conversation. Colleagues, Governor Brown is correct on his concerns for public employee pensions, and I applaud him for his efforts in regards to PEPRA. In January, the League of California Cities released a retirement system sustainability study and findings. The three key findings were as follows. 1, city pension costs will dramatically increase to unsustainable levels. 2, rising pension costs will require cities to nearly double the percentage of their general fund dollars they pay to CalPERS. And 3, cities have few options to address growing pension liabilities. So colleagues, both CalPERS and CalSTRS enjoyed a nice Trump bump this last year with the stock market, but if the stock market continues to hold flat or decline before June 30th, the numbers for this fiscal year will not be pretty. Consequently, the legislature needs to get in front of this sustainability concern, and soon. One city in my district, Huntington Beach, has reduced its staffing by 15%, but its CalPERS contributions have still gone up 88%. Most savvy union leaders know that in order to protect retirement benefits, you have to protect the employer. Last fall, I requested actuarial assistance on the impact of a modification to cost of living adjustments from CalPERS, and instead of responding to my letter, they went ahead and had a Finance and Administrative Committee meeting and had it on their agenda. Some dozen plan sponsors showed up. Many cities, city managers started to explain what month or what year they'd be out of cash based on projections. How many have already reduced their police departments by 25% and their fire departments by 25%. They pleaded for an option in their employee negotiations toolbox. Funding currently has 3 sources. The employer makes the contributions, which are rising. 2, the employee makes contributions, which are also rising. And 3, the net investment earnings, which are volatile. This 3-legged stool could use an assist. If a plan sponsors unfunded actuarial accrued liability, the difference between assets and liabilities exceeds 20%, then I believe cost of living adjustments should be put on hold. When a plan is losing ground, then one faucet that's distributing funds or increasing the liability should be temporarily turned off. Employers are stepping up until they can't. Employees are stepping up, and future retirees should also be a leg of the chair to address funding level concerns. It's their pension that they're protecting by taking a temporary pause. Why? I'm not here to be mean to retirees, but in Detroit, since I get to watch Chapter 9 bankruptcy proceedings a lot and kind of have an interest in that topic, Judge Rhodes, in developing the plan of adjustment for the city of Detroit, had the retirees take reductions in their benefits, so they are susceptible in a federal court to having their retirement benefits impacted. They are vulnerable, so they should, as part of the team, get in front of an unfunded pension plan before they find a federal judge making more severe adjustments to their retirement benefits. SB 1031 applies to those retiring after January 1, 2019, so it is prospective. PEPRA was also prospective and made changes that drove over meet and confer concerns. Some minor changes should be pursued by the legislature and put on the governor's desk for his consideration. The League of California Cities wants to wait for the next governor, but I think that strategy could delay reforms for years. We have a chance now to place a simple modification before the legislature where an honest discussion on this critical subject should be engaged. Colleagues, I recently ranked cities by their unrestricted net positions divided by their populations, California cities, a lot of them have fiscal distress. We just reviewed California's community colleges. Of the 72 districts, they're also looking pretty distressed. In fact, out of 72 districts, one, Glendale Community College District, placed 69th. So we have to have some real concern. But cumulatively, just the junior colleges, their unfunded liability was $5.5 billion, and that did not include the $2.5 billion of unfunded retiree medical costs. That's $8 billion. Another big issue that we as a legislature will have to face down the road. Colleagues, it's time for all plan participants to put their hands on the oars to address underfunded plans, those that are not funded at 80% or higher. I appreciate your attention and respectfully request an aye vote.
Okay, thank you. Witness in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Cyrus Stevers for Best and Krieger, representing the Association of California Cities for Orange County. And it's always a pleasure to testify in support of Senator Morlock bill because he leaves you so many great talking points to cover. But nonetheless, I'm glad to be here because pension reform is a taking time bomb. Everyone acknowledges what a problem it is, and there are no simple solutions. So sooner or later, the legislature is going to have to find something to say yes to, though it's going to be difficult. You bring a bill that's comprehensive, that tries to have an immediate impact or try to address the problem in the short term, and it's too controversial because of the impacts to recipients. So Senator Morlock brings a bill which makes a subtle change to one aspect of it, doesn't attempt to do the entire problem all at once, and it takes effect in the future when we can anticipate it and expect it. Then it's criticized for being premature or not a comprehensive solution. So it doesn't try to be a fix-all. It doesn't try to solve all the problems. It tries to create a tool that is available in the future when there's a problem, and if all goes well, perhaps this tool would never be used. We can only hope. But for those reasons, the Association of California Cities for Orange County does ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support.
Hi, Casey Elliott on behalf of the cities of Huntington Beach and Fullerton in support.
Good afternoon. Kira Ross on behalf of the City of San Marcos in support.
Thank you. Okay, witnesses in opposition.
Mr. Chairman and members, Jai Suprasad with the California School Employees Association. We are in opposition because denying COLA to seniors would be just devastating to them when they have to face rising costs of food or healthcare costs in the future. And setting a 20% benchmark doesn't recognize the swing in the unfunded status of a pension. As you know, during the Great Recession, we lost whether in the private or public pension system, nearly 30%. And right before it, the pension fund was actually 101% funded. And so it doesn't recognize these kinds of swing. It doesn't recognize the policy decisions that the CalPERS board have adopted. They've made all sorts of adjustments to reduce the discount rate from 8.25% down to 7%. And that kind of reduction has a direct impact on the unfunded status. When are we going to allow these policies to be in place before we add more changes that could hurt our seniors in the future? For those reasons, we oppose the bill.
Mr. Chairman, Senators Terry Brennan on behalf of SEIU California. I'm having trouble figuring out where to begin with this bill, but I will say attacking the problem through retiree pay and survivor benefits seems disassociated with the problem. In the state, for example, this is funded in a completely separate fund that is not underfunded, yet we're going to apply that to the COLAs of retirees. Rather, this does nothing to really solve the problem, but it does exacerbate the lives of retirees who rely on that COLA to make a living, to pay their bills, to survive, and it seems unusually mistargeted to the problem. They did nothing. There were no enhancements to COLAs during this period where the markets tanked and Wall Street lost trillions of dollars of our members' money. Why should the burden fall upon retirees and survivors? and the families, and that's exactly what this bill does. And I think it's misguided, aimed at the wrong people, and won't save the kind of money they're hoping it will. For that reason, we oppose. Thank you.
Okay. Other witnesses in opposition?
Good afternoon, Jennifer Baker with the California Teachers Association, also in opposition to the bill. This bill does not recognize the considerable impacts that the legislature and the governor created in AB 1469 when it was passed a few years ago to address the long-term unfunded obligation of CalSTRS. CalSTRS members are 72% women, so for us, this is a woman's issue. We also see this as an attack on women in CalSTRS who disproportionately live longer than men. So if you do want to live longer, statistically, you want to be a female teacher. But what I do want to know is that our members are paying more. They're actually paying more to their CalSTRS benefits. We're going to see our new members who are given the 262 benefits under PEPRA are now paying more, and they're going to likely be paying an additional 1% of their salary. They're paying more, and under AB 1469, that specifically impacted their COLA. This would undo the agreement that our educators made with the legislature and the governor in good faith, and we would ask you to hold up your commitment and also support the educators that we're trying to keep in the classroom.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Christy Baum on behalf of the California Professional Firefighters. We also are opposed to the measure. I think it was already stated, I'll just clearly say, it really doesn't bear any relation to the actual funded status of each particular employer. So it's arbitrary and not the solution. We ask for your no vote.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. Derek Lennox on behalf of the School Employers Association of California and the Small School Districts Association. On behalf of the employers that we represent, we must regrettably oppose because for us, solving the crisis of the teacher shortage really depends on great benefits and having those promised benefits be there in the future. Benefit reductions at no fault of the employee are extremely problematic for us. And I'll also note that whether you're an educator because you're a teacher or a classified employee, the benefits are extremely modest. And the COLA is set at 2% in both systems. So to say that benefits are the problem in our case, in the school's case, really isn't kind of the right kind of approach to tackling the liability problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman, panel members, Ted Toppin for the California State Retirees. For the state retirees, it's hard not to take this personally. A COLA seems the least you can get occasionally for dedicating your life public service to the state of California. So they are strongly opposed. For the professional engineers in California government and the California Association of Professional Scientists, also opposed. We would argue that this is something that belongs at the collective bargaining table. If this is something that the state of California seeks, then the appropriate place to take it up is in bargaining. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. Joycelyn Martinez-Wade with the California State Teachers Retirement System, and for reasons already stated, in opposition to the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kobe Pizzotti with California Association of Psychiatric Technicians, also in opposition.
Thank you.
Joshua Golko with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, also in opposition.
Thank you.
Aaron Reed representing quite a few. I can read them in alphabetical order. CAL FIRE Local 2881, California Association of Highway Patrolmen, California Association of Professional Scientists, which Ted mentioned, Orange County Employees Association, Peace Officers Research Association of California, PORAC, and Retired Public Employees Association. Nothing further to add. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ryan Sherman with the Riverside Sheriff Association in opposition.
Okay, thank you. All right, questions from committee members? Senator Leyva.
I appreciate that you are trying to look out for pensions and making sure that they are fully funded, but I just think this is the wrong group of people to look at. I know you've all heard me talk about my mom, and after 35 years of being an instructional aide in the Chino School District, her pension is just about $2,000 a month. So a cost of living of 2% would be about $40 a month. And I just, if she didn't have my dad, she wouldn't be able to live on that. So this is someone who dedicated her life for 35 years to teaching children to read. She loved her job. She still goes back and substitutes almost every week. So I just think we have to worry about the people who made decisions and spent their whole life doing what we want them to do. And 2% COLA increase, I just don't think that's too much to ask. Thank you. I'll be voting no.
Senator Portantino.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Mr. Morlock. I'm not going to be supporting SB 1031, but as this is the Senate and we try to be congenial with each other, I will move your bill as your colleague is not here.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Portantino. I was going to ask for a courtesy motion if someone wasn't going to move the bill already, because I know Senator Morrell would have done so if he were able to be here. Senator Morlock, I mean, I appreciate your concern about pensions. I think we all want to be sure our pensions are there. I think this is the wrong group to be looking at. I mean, when we talk, oftentimes we'll talk about, well, what happens to all those seniors who are on fixed incomes? Well, this is who we're talking about, right? And I mean, there's a COLA, but frankly, that COLA, as anyone who's looked at the cost of living around here, hardly keeps up with the actual cost of living increases that are, fixed income seniors are facing. And so, unfortunately, I will not be able to support the bill today. However, so would you like to close?
I would love to close. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you especially for your patience with me. I thought it would be really fun to come to Sacramento and just about upset everybody. But I say that in jest.
You're right.
I say that in jest. I mean, I've even got advocates that are upset with me because this bill doesn't really go far enough. So you and I both have moms, and I'm not anti-woman. I am happily married to one for almost 38 years. But this bill is prospective. It isn't current. So current retirees don't have a concern here. This would be individuals that would be retiring in the future. So let me address a few of the points, if I could, Mr. Chair. We selected 20%. I'm nervous when a plan goes below 80%. Most people in the defined benefit pension area are concerned about 80% funding or less. So maybe if there's a concern with that, should it be 25%? Well, that would still affect CalPERS. Should it be 30%? Well, it would have until just a couple of weeks ago when CalPERS just went over 71% funded. So somewhere there has to be some kind of marking point, and so we selected 20%. If you quantify the COLA and you have a backstop, then it would reduce the unfunded liability, which might even actually help in the case of issuing the COLAs. Another argument that was made that, you do it at the bargaining table, but current law, as I understand it, I could be corrected. Glenn is here and he knows it all, but it's a minimum of 2% COLA. I didn't see zero in the code. So if that's an idea I should be pursuing, then I can talk to Glenn about that afterwards. But it is prospective, it is proactive, it's for future retirees. They would understand that it is something on the horizon. It would be a part of a solution that could prevent their retirement from going into worse shape should that occur. The activists would like to make it applicable to everybody and go after all the retirees. This is not what I'm doing, so I'm getting plenty of pushback on the other side, Senator Leyva. But the burden's going to fall on somebody. Something's going to happen. We've got some examples, and so I want to sort of be in front of it. Providing solutions is not easy, but boy, once you're in a bankruptcy court like I've been with Orange County, you kind of start realizing you have very limited options, and then we won't have a chance to do something like this. So it'll be forced on us. So that's why I'm trying to just provide some ideas, as uncomfortable as they may be. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. So the bill has been moved by Senator Portantino. The motion is do pass and refer to Senate Appropriations Committee. Secretary, please call the roll.
Pan?
No.
Pan, no. Morrell? Leyva?
No.
Leyva, no. Morlock?
Aye.
Morlock, aye. Portantino?
No.
Portantino, no.
Okay, the bill fails 1-3. Would you ask for reconsideration? Please. Okay, so I guess I've been instructed we need to have a roll call for reconsideration. So Secretary, please call the roll for reconsideration.
Pan?
Aye.
Pan, aye. Morrell? Leyva?
Aye.
Leyva, aye. Morlock?
Aye.
Morlock, aye. Portantino?
Aye.
Portantino, aye.
Okay, so we'll have the bill for reconsideration.